Hello, family. Welcome to Looped In with Maritza, sponsored by the National Parents Union. I really appreciate those of you that take the time out of your busy day to tune in, to listen to the conversations that I very much enjoy having every week with the wonderful people that agreed to be guests on my show. This show is actually being pre-recorded because the National Parents Union, because of the federal holiday for Veterans Day, gave everybody a day off. But my guest was so kind as to agree to pre-record the show so that we can then share a conversation with everyone. A few things that are going on. Um, we have a new president-elect, Joe Biden, and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Everything was very interesting in the city of Philadelphia, to say the least, with all the ballot counting and all the things going on in the Pennsylvania Convention Center. I was fortunate enough to actually be a ballot counter last week, so it was quite an amazing experience for me that I can expound on further if you guys want to hear about it. But hopefully, we'll have a new president come January for Inauguration Day. We already knew there was going to be an uphill battle with regarding the current president's desire and hope to try to stop and abstain what's going on and it being denial about what's going on and make accusations. But I can tell you for a fact, I was there. I have firsthand knowledge. Counting ballots, it's very hard to cheat. What he is calling illegal ballots, there's no such thing. Every person that voted, your vote was counted. Absolutely. Um, so without further ado, I would like to bring on my very special guest and allow him to introduce himself. Hello.
Peace. How you doing?
Peace, brother. How are you? Thank you
Oh,
so very much. Please introduce
thank you.
yourself for anyone that does not know who you are.
Okay. Well, my name is SaladinAllah. I am a Capricorn. I like long walks in the park and 15th century Italian poetry. No, I'm just
Uh,
playing. I'm just playing. No, but I'm an early childhood educator. I'm also an author. I've published 19 books.
mm,
I pretty much do a lot of different things. I am a visitor experience specialist and a community liaison over at our Niagara Falls Underground Railroad Heritage Center. I'm a human rights commissioner for my city. Um, I'm an animator. I create family friendly animation. So, a poet. There's a lot of different things that I do. I'm always striving to push myself in terms of learning new things and how I can use those gifts to contribute to society. So, in a nutshell, I just enjoy learning and learning things well enough to be able to teach and empower other people.
that is absolutely wonderful.
Mm.
And aside from that, you're a father?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
three
oh,
beautiful daughters.
yes,
Uh huh.
yes. And I've seen
Yeah.
they're doing amazing things, and even your
Thank you.
little one. How old is your little one? Is she 2 or 3?
She just turned 2 on the 7th of November.
Oh, toddlers! Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness! I can say that because I have in our home we have our 15-year-old, we have a 6-year-old, and we have two 4-year-olds.
Okay.
So it's always interesting,
Mm-hmm.
always interesting every day.
Yeah.
So in I read your bio and I knew of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying. I think I did actually meet you once at the Harriet Tubman School in New York
Mm.
during one of the rallies. I met you in person, but it was so quick and it was a few years ago.
Okay.
But people that always strike me, I never forget. And then of course through social media, I've always been able to see whatever you're posting. Anything that,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's funny, whether it's serious, whether it's about your babies,
Mm-hmm.
congratulating them on all their accomplishments. I enjoy seeing that, and it's very nice of you to share.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to bring some people on with regards to the history of your family which I find
Uh,
fascinating.
okay.
So tell us who you are the third great grandson of.
Okay. Well, for those of you who are familiar with the book Uncle Tom's Cabin that was published by Harriet Beecher Stowe, it was a best-selling novel of the 19th century. And Abraham Lincoln actually credited that book with being the spark that ignited the Civil War. That book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Harriet Beecher Stowe, when she first published the book, there was a lot of pushback that she received because that book was a novel, but it was the first time that the actual life of people who were enslaved was articulated for the public. And a lot of people in the South, they didn't like their accurate depiction of that reality. And you started to see a lot of other people putting out books and stage plays under the same name as Uncle Tom's Cabin. And what ended up happening is they created a caricature of what Uncle Tom actually was. And that began to get a negative connotation even to this day, where people disassociated from, they disassociate from what Uncle Tom is. The reality of it is, Harry Beecher Stowe used a person who was the model for the character of that book. His name was Josiah Henson, and that is my third great grandfather. He was enslaved for 41 years of his life until he eventually was sold to his enslaver's brother's plantation in Kentucky. And in September, he took his family. He had four small children. Two of them were so small he had to carry them in a knapsack on his back. And they took a journey from Kentucky all the way up to Western New York. It was a 600-mile journey. They actually arrived in Western New York and crossed over into Canada on October 28th, 1830. So that journey took a month for him and his family. And he was very instrumental in terms of being a forerunner of the Underground Railroad, where he established an actual community, a settlement for other enslaved people who had made it over into Canada called the Dawn Settlement. He was also instrumental in building the British American Institute. And he would come back and forth into the United States in the role of an abolitionist. So he was a very, very um, important person in terms of being a part of the Underground Railroad. A couple of generations later, my grandmother was born through his daughter in a place known as St. Catherine's, the same community and location where Harriet Tubman and her descendants and family lived. My grandmother, Inez Dorsey, moved over here into the United States. And then eventually my father was born from her children. And I'm one of his seven children. In fact, I'm the most attractive and intelligent of those seven children. No, I'm just playing.
Stop.
But yeah, but the good thing about this is a part of my ancestry that I knew as a child. So my parents were both a part of the Black Panthers, so they ensured that we had a sense of identity and cultural competence growing up. So I had a different perspective and worldview from a lot of my peers who not only did not know that much about their ancestry or their legacy, but also may have not had the type of family dynamics that I had to ground us in our identity and sense of purpose as a people. So that's a short part of the story. I was just featured in the Enslaved docu-series starring Samuel L. Jackson, which I definitely encourage all of you to check out. It was on the Epics Network. It just got picked up by HBO, National Geographic, and a lot of other networks. But it chronicles the transatlantic slave trade. And in the particular episode that I'm in, we talk about resistance and the role of the Underground Railroad in that resistance and resilience in terms of our people here in the wilderness of North America.
The Resistance episode is actually episode 5. So I did watch it and I was just
Yeah,
like amazed. So family, this
yeah.
is something that look it up. Enslaved, and that is a term, that is a word that I will forever use
Hmm.
when it comes to talking about the history of those that were forcibly brought here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people that came from Africa were not, they, you know, they weren't already slaves there. They were enslaved and brought over and went through, you know, went to many different Caribbean islands. And then some, you know, eventually some did end up in this country.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's very, for me,
Yeah.
having parents from Dominican Republic, and when people are talking to me about, oh, you're not black. Oh, yes, I am. I'm like, I'm not white, dear. No, there's nothing. So we, you know, we have to understand our world's history, and understand our true history.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a
Mm-hmm.
firm believer in that, that by doing things as such as you do with regards to educating, you are a direct lineage to a family, to a man that fought
Absolutely.
to free people, and made sure that it wasn't just him and his family, but other families as well.
Absolutely.
And
And
that's
and
a
that's a beauty of the Underground Railroad, because it was a network,
yes,
and it was a sense of indebtedness that people felt. Even, you had people who, Harriet Tubman, for example, when she made it to freedom over on the Canadian side, she didn't look at that as personal freedom. She went back and helped many others to gain freedom as well. But you also had some of our people that once they left the United States, they never set foot in this country again. But they created settlements or communities as safe spaces for our people, that once they arrived here, you have a place to live, you have food, clothing, and shelter, you have employment. We built this for you as a safe space. So they were even indebted. So it was very, very, very rare for someone to use this network for personal or individual freedom. They realized that they had to make sure that they supported this network, because in order for them to even be free, the network supported them.
mm.
You
And see,
know.
that is something. That's all. Like, I have to have him on my show. I have to speak to him, because I found it. I'm like, wow, you're. It's after history's always been fascinating to me, but being able to have the privilege of speaking with someone who actually can draw back generations of family. I mean, in my family, I can go back to my great grandmother, but beyond that, based on what my father told me, I would either have to find more people in Dominican Republic, or go to Cuba, because my
Hmm.
dad told me that that one of his great grandfathers was originally from Cuba and then went to Dominican Republic. So
Hmm.
that is something that, for me, it's on my bucket list of things to do, to go there to research that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? And I think it's important also to note that these disconnects a lot of times from our ancestors is not because it just disappeared. A lot of our journeys are wrapped in trauma, and people have a difficult time talking about a lot of things, especially when you're talking about some of our people who went through the transatlantic slave trade and disembarked on these ships in the Caribbean as well as in North America, or they made these journeys into other places and settled there. A lot of times they may have left an actual name behind,
Yes.
because they didn't know if someone would be striving to track them, or if there were bounty hunters or anything like that. So they a lot of times wouldn't tell people where they actually came from. They
Mm-hmm.
might have changed their name. So a lot of times you have those disconnects, because a lot of those disconnects are wrapped in trauma that a lot of times people don't even talk about. And that's just talking about it going back to the 16, 17, the 1800s. Think about even more recently in the 1930s. You may have had a grandparent that lived in Mississippi, and all you know about this grandparent is they got on a train with one suitcase and
Mm-hmm.
made it up here to Chicago. And that's all you know. You don't know why or anything like that. And a lot of times it's because these journeys are wrapped in trauma, and people a lot of times don't want to talk about certain things,
Wow.
you know?
Oh my goodness. Let's talk about the Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters.
Okay. Yeah. So the Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters, I've been doing national as well as regional and local projects, programs, and initiatives for over 2 decades. various different things, primarily dealing with community outreach and youth advocacy. And in that journey or in that process, I've worked with different organizations. I've partnered with different organizations. I've utilized the 501c3 umbrella of some organizations to receive grants to do programs. I've done it all, and I've worked in the non-for-profit sector for a very long time. And for the most part, a lot of my projects, programs, and initiatives were not centralized in my own site or own location. I've either done it at a preparatory school, or I've done it at a church here, or the public library here, a lot of different places. And I was blessed in the last couple of years to acquire a property. And my first order of business was to renovate this property into my own private institution. And that is the culmination of my different projects, programs, and initiatives that I've been doing for years, as well as my background in early childhood development. And I wanted to create this um, early childhood learning center as well as after school program for youth that I've consistently served for over 2 decades. But as a private institution, the things that I do can be centralized, it can be privatized so that I can actually control that narrative, and to build that type of space and model it for other people to see that they have the capacity to do the exact same thing. So presently, I'm in that renovation process. I've gotten a lot of stuff done, over this time of COVID-19, because as an educator, we shut down classes last March, and we transitioned into an online learning model. So it freed up a lot of time that I typically don't have with the various different things that I do. So I've been able to invest a lot more time and attention in that project. And this is probably one of my biggest undertakings that I've done. And, I'm definitely excited just about the opportunities and the possibilities that it's going to provide. So it's going to operate like a cooperative. I have a lot of networks with a lot of different people. And because I was blessed to acquire this property, I don't pay mortgage. I don't pay any of that. This is my actual estate.
Mm.
And I wanted to make it accessible to others in terms of a sense of ownership, because building this resource bank of my network, I'm literally going to give people keys to this property. And the only thing that they have to invest in that is their own sweat equity. So if they live in Oregon, or if they live in Atlanta and they're coming to visit here in Niagara Falls, New York, I just have to know in advance so that I can make sure that whatever their skill set or expertise is, they will be able to provide that in the form of workshops for the youth that are in my community or visiting the city at that time. And like I said, I wanted to make sure that it operates like a cooperative, the same way that you see in terms of like Professor Xavier and the X-Men. I
Hmm.
wanted to model it after that in terms of the elder mutants who were gifted being able to teach, train, and show the younger mutants how to control their powers, as well as navigate in a society that doesn't necessarily encourage the growth and development of those particular powers.
So
So,
how? I mean, it's funny because everything I want to get into, you touch upon it, and I'm like, okay, that's what I was going to ask him. He's already
hmm
talking about it, which is great. Which is great.
hmm hmm
Um, how have the little ones reacted towards constantly only seeing their teacher virtually, as a because I mean I recall seeing sometimes, the things you put on Facebook, the little conversations you have with your little ones that you're
hmm
teaching, and some, they're hilarious, or the
hmm
times you may have recorded some kind of activity that you were doing with them. How has it been for them, dealing with all these months of not being able to see you in person and just having you through virtually? How has that been for them?
Oh man, it's been challenging, and I think as adults, it's been more challenging for us. And I say that because many of us are internet and social media immigrants. You know, we know about a world before there was an internet, before there was social media. So we have this sense of contrast and comparison about how things were in terms of social norms and just how we attend this world prior to these changes taking place. The younger that a child is, they don't know about a world like that. So I think a lot of times we may not give children as much credit as they deserve in terms of their resilience with being able to navigate spaces like this and adapt to some of these changes, in terms of what's actually currently going on. So personally, it's been much more challenging for me, just simply because I'm a very social person when it comes to youth, and I'm very hands-on. I'm very experiential, so to speak, with a lot of my students, and with this type of hybrid model that we're doing now, a lot of the virtual activity, I've taken it as a challenge in terms of striving to find more creative ways to connect with my students and my former students. But this can never replace a hug, you know, and just that intimacy that is important in terms of the social emotional component with working with our children. And that's one of the things that's been very, very difficult, just the social emotional aspect of learning,
Hmm.
on both sides for, you know, the students as well as the educators, the administrators, as well as the parents and the guardians.
Wow. We had a here in Philadelphia,
Mhm.
parent the city had decided to begin hybrid, and they were going to start with pre-K through second grade. So they went through like about a 3 week period that actually expired um 2 weeks ago, in which parents had a choice of either selecting 100% virtual or agree to have their children come into the school building 2 days a week. So I now work at a school. I'm a school secretary at Mary McLeod Bethune Elementary, literally across the street from the school here in Philly on Germantown Ave. I'm right
Mm.
across the street. That public school, I work
Wow.
there now. If you, I know you've been to the school here,
Hmm.
so I'm right across the street now working at that public school, and we were getting everything amped and ready, and the teachers were beginning to get trained on using the technology that would have allowed them to teach physically in class and also have those children still see them virtually at the same time simultaneously. And then, unfortunately, because of the spike in COVID cases that have been going on across the country, the decision was made very abruptly. Uh, what's today? Wednesday. On yesterday, actually, they said no. They're going to wait until further notice. So now all the families that, I mean, us as well, we had agreed to allow our little ones to go in because they actually enrolled them in my school that I work out of. And now it's, everybody's staying home. And unless a child attends an access center where there's several across the city here, everybody's going to be home again. And
Yeah.
in the sense of, I have to send letters out tomorrow to all of our families. If they haven't watched the news, if they don't have access to a TV, or if they don't really look at things on their phones, I'm going to send them a letter in English and Spanish letting them know that the decision was made to keep everyone safe and healthy. Everybody's staying home.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the other things that I did prior to COVID-19 is with my animations, I started to create these story time episodes where it not only helps promote literacy, but it's done in a fun way, and it's also done to help facilitate dialogue between parents and guardians and children. Because, like I'm sure you're aware of it, when students are out during the summertime, an academic slide always happens, where they come back in September and they have to be reacquainted with the things that they learned last year before you even get into anything new.
Yes.
The fact that schools started to be shut down second week of March, that
Mm.
expanded that academic slide. And then with all of the uncertainty with the hybrid and the online learning and teachers striving to learn how to navigate, these apps, and that created even more of an academic slide. And like, our children, black and brown children in this country, if white children have a cold, we have the flu.
Yes.
So we've always dealt with an academic slide just because of the inequities that we see in this society. So a lot of our children are even further behind because of these circumstances. And there's really no way that I see right now that you can reconcile that within an academic setting, because they're still going to be graded. They're still going to have certain expectations in terms of them moving along their academic trajectory. But it's also, I think, putting us as parents and guardians in a position to take more responsibility for providing the resources. And if we don't necessarily know or have the expertise to be able to do that for our children, to strive to seek that type of support out, because our children have always needed that village. But I think more than ever now, we're really seeing the importance of making sure that our children have that village to support them, not just academically, but I keep going back to the social emotional component as
I need
well.
I need you to make sure. I would like you to make sure that you email me the link for the animated series.
Hmm.
And I'm going to make sure that I put it the day this show gets aired. I'm going to
Hmm.
put it in the comments for our families to see, because I've
Cool.
seen it. It's great.
Cool. Thank
And
you.
the rite of passage,
Hmm.
is that a separate program that you do?
Yes. So the animation is a part of the Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters, and the Boys as Allies Rites of Passage program is a part of the Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters too. I started that a couple of years ago, and I've done it at recreation centers. It's a 10-week program. I've done it at preparatory schools, middle schools, and it's interesting, or because I just had a conversation with my principal on what's today, Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yesterday on Tuesday, and he wants me to do it at the school that I'm at right now for our sixth grade boys. And the basis of it is to help our young boys develop a sense of emotional intelligence, because there's a lot of things that our boys are missing, and we have a lot of myths and a lot of misconceptions about manhood and masculinity, and it's designed for our boys to develop more healthier relationships with their peers and their female counterparts. So in a 10-week program, each class that I have with them, it centers around specific activities as well as facilitated dialogue around a specific topic. So for example, um, one session that I do with them is around identity
Mm-hmm.
and teaching them about trajectories in life, and how a lot of times in this society, when it comes to manhood or masculinity, some of the markers that we use are arbitrary. And I want, them to be aware of some of those things and realize that a lot of our ideas about who we are is is being shaped by people who are not us. So,
Yes.
for example, I tell them, at a certain age, you are able to drink. At a certain age, you're able to drive a car, right? And these are things that define your trajectory in life, or what's important, or in terms of your growth and development. But there's other things that you're not even learning at
Yes.
all. So facilitating dialogue with my boys and having them participate in group activities around those topics builds a sense of camaraderie as well as a sense of connectedness with one another from a healthier perspective. Another thing that I do is, uh, my Boys Allies program. We do it in the form of a circle. We all sit in a circle or cipher, because one thing that I explain to them is that everybody has an equal perspective and an equal voice and equal input in everything that we're doing, regardless of their age or experience. And it's important for them to realize that, because it's also an enclosed circle. So it's our safe space where we can be vulnerable and open with one another. And one of the activities that I do is we share compliments about each other. And I let them know that you can't compliment somebody about something materialistic in terms of what you like their shoes or you like their pants. No, what do you like about this person's character? You know, and it's very, very difficult a lot of times for young boys to just give their boy, their homeboy, their friend a compliment. But
Yes.
they can clown each other all day, though. They
Yes.
can do that all day long. But to just be honest and say, I'm proud of you,
Mm-hmm.
that's hard. It's hard. And that's because a lot of these misconceptions that we've been fed in terms of our vulnerability and our sense of manhood and masculinity. So it's designed to break down those misconceptions and to build them back up to have a healthier relationship with one another, and then consequently healthier relationships with how they see their female counterparts.
That is so essential, man. And I say that
Mhm.
because I was a single parent for over 20 years.
Mhm.
And my older sons are now 30 and 24.
Mhm.
And although a lot of single parents might say, well, I didn't need them, a lot of single moms like, I didn't need their dad to be around. I was like, no, you
Mhm.
may not have needed their dad to be around, but they did need to have a positive male role model that'll show them things,
Mhm.
because a mom can't show them how to be a man. I'm sorry. I mean, a lot
Mhm.
of people say they didn't need that, but I'm a firm believer of that I as a female, I needed my dad and I didn't have my dad around, so I knew my sons needed someone. So I
Mhm.
was fortunate enough to be able to involve them in a
Mhm.
lot of activities as they were coming up, whether it was between church and sports and any other positive activity they were able to do. I made sure I kept them in that and I was on it.
Mhm.
And that there
Mhm.
was never anything negative said about their fathers, but they weren't around, unfortunately. So that those men that were around them, they were, here's an example, here's an example of a doctor, of a lawyer, of a male nurse, of a postman,
Mhm.
everyone, all their coaches had a specific career. There's a teacher, there's a dog walker, whatever role they had. Even the corner boys, the ones that were respectable, this is what he does. This is what he chose to do. You don't have to choose to do this, but this is an
Mhm.
example of what that is.
Mhm.
So I think what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
And I after hearing this and now
Yeah.
knowing more in depth, I'm gonna talk to my school leader. There's somebody you to talk to. Because our school
Yeah.
our school is great.
Mhm.
My school happens to be the one school in the state that has the largest percentage of black teachers,
Mm.
black male
Mm.
teachers.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like, it's a rarity.
Yes. Absolutely.
You're lucky to see, one black or brown person in some schools, and to have it be the majority in
Mhm.
that school.
Mhm.
That check-in every morning, it makes my day, because when I see everybody's pictures, I see it. It's all the shades of black. It's beautiful
Yeah.
every single day. And I tell them, you guys are amazing. You guys do what you have to do.
Mhm.
And they're like, I'm just Miss G. I'm like, okay, what you need? Because I'm older than all of them. So I'm like, I'm Miss G, no problem. Whatever you need, you let me know.
Mhm.
But anything
Yeah.
that any word of advice or any jewel that you can give and share with our families that now, as I said, because of the unfortunate rising in COVID cases, they may not have that opportunity. Who knows when our children will be back face to face, full time, with their educators, with their teachers. Any advice you have for our families that feel like they're at their wits end with regards to this method of learning, and us not knowing when it's going to change in any way?
One thing that I would say.
Hi, baby. Oh, she's so beautiful. Look Chill. Hi. Oh yeah, we love the babies. If it was earlier, you would have seen my three over here interrupting me the whole show because that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, beautiful.
Say peace.
Oh, peace, baby. Uh,
You can't hear. Here, go with your sister.
oh, she's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
Um, yeah, one thing that I would say is realize that number one, that if you don't have certain resources, demand those resources.
she wants you.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. To demand those resources. If if you're having difficulty with maybe having internet access at home, make sure you demand that your child demands those resources in terms of what's required of their school and required of the state in terms of making sure that they have access to those resources. So don't be afraid to make sure that you demand the things that you actually need. And that's one of the things that I've seen just thus far, that some parents are under the impression that they have to accept what's being told to them, you know, instead of being assertive and saying no. You know, if you may not feel comfortable doing that, strive to connect or align yourself with other parents and guardians who will be assertive. You know, it works a lot better when you have a critical mass or you have that support system of parents, because usually you may not be the only parent who may not be having access, who may not have access to certain resources or things that are necessary for your child. So that's the first thing that I would say. Make sure you demand what is needed for your child to be successful in their undertakings. Another thing is realize that the power of educating your children is primarily on you. Even if you don't think that you have like the credentials, or you don't have the degrees, or you are the parent and the guardian. You're the first teacher of the child. You know what I mean? So I keep mentioning social emotional because that is the primary way in which you teach anybody. Because if a person doesn't have a good relationship, then it's going to be difficult for them to learn or teach anything. So
yes.
making sure that you are supporting your children social emotionally, spending time talking to them, you know, finding out what they think about this, what they think about that. Learn from them. In some instances, you're the actual student and your child is the teacher, right? So use this time to invest more in that child that you may have not had an opportunity to do just under other circumstances. Typically, children are out of the house most of the day. And if you're a working parent or you're going to school or working guardian, that child is investing more time with that teacher or at that school than they actually are with us. And there's a lot of teachers who are this just there for a paycheck. They
Yes.
don't really care about your child. I see some of them every day. They're not invested in them like that, right? So you have your children who are around this every day. Now, because of the COVID-19, the good thing about it is that they may not be around that type of person every day.
Yes.
Take advantage of that opportunity and, you know, teach a child some of the things that they need to learn, like how to do dishes, how to do laundry if they're old enough, you know, all of these things that they're going to need in life, because typically in the school, they may not be learning those type of life skills that you are qualified to teach them.
That's right.
So take advantage of this time and these opportunities that we have right now to be able to teach children just basic primary life skills that they're going to carry forward with them for the rest of their life. Because under other circumstances, we may have not had that time or ability to be able to do it. You have the opportunity now.
Mm-mm-mm. This for me
Hmm.
has been a great Wednesday night. It really has.
Hmm.
I am so appreciative that you carved some time out, uh, gave me some of your precious time away from your beautiful babies
Hmm.
to talk to me,
Yeah.
to talk about your family history, talk about all the amazing things that you have done and the work that
Hmm.
you do. I, as a parent, appreciate you as an educator. Um, what you're doing is amazing, and I wish you nothing but the best. But I'm gonna tell you this because I say this to all of those that I come across that then, oh, she wants to come back. Go ahead, put her on your lap.
Here, come here.
It's okay if she hears me telling you, oh, I, don't be surprised if one of my counterparts reaches out to you, Saladin, to ask you to be on their program,
Okay, that's peace.
because
I
because
appreciate
that
that.
that is something that we do.
Mhm.
We share our guests. We definitely
Okay.
share our guests. We let them know. Don't be surprised. Somebody reaches out to you and say, "Hey, I saw you on Maritza's show. My name is so and so from National Parents Union. Would you agree to be on my show?" And they'll let you know, and you guys schedule a time. And so don't be
Hmm.
surprised, brother, because I mean I have folks that are my colleagues that have their shows. One specifically in New York, the Vet Dukes, Speak Your Truth. I have other sisters that are in Texas and Detroit, and a brother in Atlanta. I don't know if you ever heard of the Black Wall Street Times.
Hmm. Hmm.
Nehemiah Frank. Yes, don't be
Okay.
surprised if he reaches out. There's some wonderful ladies out in California, in Arizona, Kansas, Oklahoma. Oh my gosh, we're all over the place.
Right.
So I'm
Good.
gonna be talking you up anyway tomorrow because we meet tomorrow.
That's
But don't be surprised if you're gonna be like, "Excuse me, can I, I have your contact information there."
okay.
I'm gonna, like I said, send me please the information about the animated series because that is definitely something I want to share with all of our families in the National Parents Union. Because
Hmm.
the things that you have said regarding advocating for your children, our
Hmm.
children, is what we're about.
Oh yeah,
The,
yeah.
the thing about us being the first teachers, and that is exactly, and demanding services, demanding access. You were speaking to my heart right now about education.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And as far as the rites of passage for our young men is, it's I think it's a beautiful thing
Hmm.
because you're providing something that a lot of young men may not have, and it's that positive male image that's going to help guide them
Hmm.
to their journey into manhood, and I really appreciate that wholeheartedly. Oh my gosh,
I
I could
appreciate you
talk for
too.
days. I mean,
Oh
look,
yeah,
I could, but I know you got to get to your baby because she's like, I want my dad, I want my poppy, I want my
and
pop.
and she should be asleep right now. I
Oh,
gave her some tea and everything.
she's just excited. She's like, hey, what are you doing? What are you
Hmm.
doing? But I
Hmm.
appreciate you so much, brother. You just do not understand.
Thank you.
Don't be surprised if I bring you back to be on the
That's all
panel.
good.
I'll,
Oh
I
yeah,
I will definitely let
absolutely,
you know. What I typically do
absolutely.
now is I bid my guests a very special rest of their week. You
Hmm.
stay safe.
Hmm.
Keep
Thank
those
you. You
beautiful
too.
babies safe. It's up to you if you want to, hang out I move you off screen. But if
Hmm.
not, because I just have some parting words for the viewers,
Okay.
and it's up to you if you want to stay on and chat a little bit afterwards. So I'll leave that totally up to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Peace and blessings to you and your family.
Peace. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for tuning in. As I stated in the beginning of the program, this is a pre-recorded show. I do plan on showing it on Wednesday, November 25th, the day before Thanksgiving. So for those of us that are going to be in the kitchen, in there burning and making some delicious recipes for our family and friends, if you're not too busy on that Wednesday afternoon, please tune in. Please feel free to leave comments and questions. I'll make sure to answer them. If you have a need to get in contact with Brother Saladin Allah, I'll be happy to share more of his information. His information is here down the ticker. Also, family, we will be having another National Parents Union Town Hall. It will be on December 3rd from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please go on to the nationalparentsunion.org website so that you can register and be part, once again, be part of that amazing conversation. The first one was amazing. I hope that those of you that were able to be on the one we had last week will once again register, be on, tell your friends, share the information. If you want to be part of the National Parents Union as a member, whether it's an individual person or your organization, go onto our website, www.nationalparentsunion.org. There is a membership tab. Family, yes, the presidential election is over. There are still many races to be counted. We have the House. We're trying to see if we have the Senate. We still don't know about that yet. We will have a new president and vice president. Uh, please be safe. Please be safe. COVID, a new strain or a different strain, or because the weather's changing, it has not left. It's still here. It is causing the closure of many businesses again. It is causing the closure, the end of hybrid options for many schools across the country. Please wear your mask. Please have your family members wear their masks, even the children, and wear it to completely cover their face above their nose. Because if they're wearing it below their nose, it's not working. It's not going to help them. It's not going to protect them. So please make sure you wear your mask. Thanksgiving is coming. There are going to be a lot of families getting together. Yes, get together if you can safely. Safely. If everyone could take a test before getting together, do it. Socially distance at your family's table. Spread it out. Just do things in a safe manner. I want to be able to see all my family and friends at the end of the holidays. When things get better, we don't want to have any more losses. We really don't. I want everybody to stay healthy. And on a personal note, family, make sure you stay up on your health. Make sure you go for your yearly checkups for whatever you have to get a yearly checkup for, whether it's an annual physical. Ladies, your mammograms. Men, your prostate exams if you're of age. Please make sure you stay healthy. Our families need us. We need you. If you have any questions for me, I can be reached at Maritza at npunion.org. If you have any requests for information, info at mpunion.org. Once again, nationalparentsunion.org if you want more information about us. You can like us on Facebook, but please become a member. We need to be one voice, one solid unit of strength to affect change. Thank you so very much. Next week, I'll be back on at 4 p.m. on Wednesday Eastern Standard Time, live. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there. Thank you so very much. Stay safe. Be blessed. Peace.